Stocks recover after a week open but trade at the flat line. Oil and gas and metals eke out gain while consumer durables and IT drift lower. HCL Tech tells CNBC-TV18 that higher furloughs at few clients can temper growth even as order inflows remain strong. Mastech adds that repurposing of spends with a cost focus is also delaying order flows. And Poonawalla FinCorp informs exchanges that its board will consider sale of its controlling stake in its housing finance arm, a likelihood reported by CNBC-TV18 in November. JP Associates and Dalmia Bharat also inform exchanges of likely transactions. Nandan Nilekani tells CNBC-TV18 the funding winter will cleanse the startup system and make it more robust. He also sees IT services playing a big role in business growth despite macro headwinds, but has failed to find a reason for cryptos to exist. And the rupee falls close to one-month lows as dollar index rises on the back of higher than expected US purchasing price index. However, lower crude prices support the rupee from falling too much. Hi guys, a very good afternoon and welcome to Business Lunch. I'm Pavitra Parekh. Those are all of the top headlines that we are looking at lunch hour today. The markets, like you can see, are absolutely flat, but don't forget we have seen a significant over 100-point kind of recovery from the lows of the day. So right now we're absolutely at the flat line. The Nifty, sensex, both the mid-caps faring a shade better today. So it's around a 0.2% gain on the mid-cap index. And the Nifty Bank also in the past couple of minutes has actually picked up once again. It had also seen quite a slip, but once again that index is holding up well with a gain of around 0.25%. In terms of sectors that are really doing today, the metals pack stands out and the oil and gas names stand out, like we were pointing out earlier in the headlines as well. So the larger ones would include the likes of Tata Steel, you have JSPL, Hindalco, these ones doing very well, HPCL, BPCL from the oil marketing companies. You also have some of these banking names which are really holding up today. So the likes of Bank of India are seeing a big gain. You have Union Bank, which are doing well. And on the downside, it is really tech, which is once again, the top losing sector. So do keep your eye out on that. In terms of cues, it is the CPI data that we are waiting for. And then, of course, the FOMC decision. And then what goes on with crude prices. So that's what we're tracking. But let's kickstart the show now by bringing you HCL Tech. Now, remember, this stock on Friday saw a sharp fall after the company said that it expected revenue growth to come in at the lower end of its guidance band. Earlier today, we caught up with C. Vijay Kumar, who's MD and CEO of the company. And he says that the downward revision in growth estimates is driven by higher than anticipated furloughs. Listen in.
It's maybe 3 or 4 clients in these verticals. That's what I would say. However, one should keep in mind, we did talk about the bookings. We expect to have a decent booking. The deal momentum is very robust, especially the vendor consolidation and the cost efficiency led deals. Currently, our guidance is 18 to 19% for this fiscal, but our aspiration is to get back to the 19 to 20% range as we move forward. So good deal momentum and good progress on all the cost levers that we have been working on. No, half the year is over. You know what the first half margin profile was. We will do better in the second half. We had a good benefit of realization in the last 6 months based on all the billing rate enhancement that we were driving. But moving forward, I think getting increases may be difficult. But I expect the pricing to be stable because still for some niche skills and some of the newer skills, the demand is quite high. So I think the pricing, I expect it to be more or less stable as we move forward.
All right, that is the management of HCL Tech talking about why they've revised their guidance lower. And remember, the stock did see a sharp 7% fall on Friday. And once again, today it is in the red. In fact, sticking with IT, we also spoke to Mastech and the management confirmed that repurposing of spends with a cost focus is also delaying order flows. However, there have not been any cancellations yet. Listen in.
There are some things that are going to happen in economy as projected at the end of the year. There may be more focus on cost saving, which is good for us because that will be more offshore. So all that repurposing of the budgets is leading into delay in the decision making. So as we see it, we do not see any impact on the budgets as such, but we do see a delay in decision making. So the whole issue now is how do we do account mining with our existing accounts so that wherever we are already in, we can grow. And that's what we are doing.
All right, that is the management of Mastech. So that is the commentary coming in from IT players. But with that, let's shift focus now to some primary market action. We had construction and agri-machinery parts manufacturer Uniparts, which had a subdued listing on the bourses. It listed at a discount, and the issue had been subscribed over 25 times, but the stock did list with a discount of around 2%. It's currently around 4.5% in the red. In fact, we also spoke to Gurdeep Soni, who's CMD of the company, to understand the promoter share allotment as well as the outlook for their business.
Well, the reason is that, like I said, this was under the ESOP plan, and some of the shareholders exercise the right to apply for the shares depending on the longevity of their tenure with the company. And Mr. Bogle and in fact some other shareholders even before him exercised their rights, and that's the reason they got it at that particular price. We had a top line of 348 crores with an EBITDA of 76 crores and a PAT of 50.5 crores. And clearly moving forward, right up till now, we are looking at being maintained and should be maintained for the rest of the year as well.
All right, that is the management of newly listed Uniparts. But with that, let's also keep it with the primary markets. India's largest winemaker, Sula Vineyards' 960 crore rupee IPO has opened for subscription today. The price band is 340 to 357 rupees with an implied market cap of 3,006 crore rupees. So my colleague Yash actually caught up with the managing director and CEO, Rajiv Saman, to understand the outlook for the business going forward. So listen in to that conversation.
Our capacity is around 14 million litres across our facilities in Maharashtra and Karnataka. We are right now putting up a 6 million litre facility. So it's pretty substantial expansion. That will come over 2 years. So this year the capex is estimated at around 80 crores give or take. Next year it's going to be a shade lower than that. So really the big expansion, most of the new winery is going to happen this year, and then there's not a lot of capex that we see down the road in terms of some of the other functions like our wine tourism, vineyards, etc. Really the capex we're talking about is for hardcore production.
Okay, so that is Sula Vineyards talking about the expansion plan where they can, take their capacity to in the next 2 years as well, and they're going to add around 6 million tons. 6 million litres as far as capacity goes. But with that, we have to get into a short break now. When we come back, there are chaotic scenes at the airports as air traffic bounces back to near pre-COVID levels. Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia takes stock at the Delhi airport. So we'll get you all of the details after the short break. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Business Lunch, and in the past couple of minutes we have seen a lot of these auto stocks give up their gains. So they moved to the low point of the day. Everything from an Eicher, Bajaj, M&M, they were all at one point the top gainers on the Nifty earlier this morning, but they've all given up that gain and have moved to the low point of the day. So do keep your eye out on this entire auto pack as well. But for now, let's talk about the rupee. We have seen that fall close to 1 month lows as the dollar index rises in the back of higher than expected US purchaser price index. But defending the currency, the finance minister tells the Lok Sabha that the INR has been one of the strongest currencies compared to a lot of its peers. So let's listen into that.
Indian rupee has been strong against every currency, and that is proved, and I can read the records. As regards just the US dollar, because of the policies adopted by the US Fed, is getting stronger and stronger. That has been explained. Now, as regards the foreign exchange reserve, Reserve Bank has used foreign exchange reserve that it has to intervene in the market only to make sure that the dollar and rupee fluctuation doesn't go too much.
All right, that is the finance minister talking about the rupee and defending it, saying that, we've still held well and been one of the strongest performing currencies if you look at it in the broader context of all of its peers. But with that, let's also focus on some key macro data due to be released today. CPI for the month of November is seen coming in at a 9-month low, so this would be at 6.3%, and this would compare to 6.77% that we saw last month, that is in October. A favorable base effect and a moderation in prices is also likely to lead this to a lower number. And inflation coming in above 6%, however, will be the 11th consecutive month of inflation being above that 6% mark, above that RBI's comfort level. And remember that IIP for the month of October is also seen coming in at a negative 0.8% compared to a growth of 3.2% that we saw last month. This as core sector growth slows and the impact of global growth slowdown and weak rural demand also weigh. Just to note, remember core sector output, which accounts for around 40% of the industrial output, sank to a 20-month low in October. So that is some important macro data. There's also an important flash on your screen. Godrej Consumer has confirmed that the MD and CEO is not stepping down. The stock is also recovering from the lows. It was down 3.5%, so it is, recovering from those levels. But this should come as a relief to the street. The company confirming to us that the managing director and CEO is not stepping down right now. So that is good news on Godrej Consumer. But with that, let me also bring you some important news from the aviation space. Air traffic in November exceeded pre-COVID levels with over 4 lakh passengers taking to the skies yesterday. That is on the 11th of December. Sonia is here to tell us more. Sonia, very strong numbers.
Well, amidst all the chaos that you're seeing at the airports, both in Delhi and in Mumbai, the data that's coming through also indicates that the air traffic is very strong. And as you rightly pointed out, this is an all-time high, at least compared to pre-COVID levels, compared to 2019. This is the highest that we're seeing on a per-day basis. The domestic air traffic, as per the Ministry of Civil Aviation website, on the 11th of December has hit a level of 4.27 lakh passengers in a single day. And the load factors across the board have increased substantially. So if you look at it, all airlines clocked in passenger load factors of over 90%, with Air India the highest at 96.6%, Indigo at 90.7%, SpiceJet at 95.2%, and Vistara and Go First at 93 to 95%. Now, a lot of the aviation stocks have also been rising, one because of increasing passenger traffic, two because of ticket fares have been on the surge, and operationally the lower crude prices will definitely benefit them. This will result in lower ATF prices. If you remember, crude is down $20 per barrel in the last 1 month itself. So these are a couple of factors that are, the reasons why the aviation stocks are doing well. In fact, Interglobe Aviation, if you map the chart of the last month, actually from the month of June, if you look at it, Interglobe Aviation has risen 26% from the June lows, purely because of these factors. Overall, if you look at on a month-on-month trend, the latest data that we have for the month of October and November indicates that the passenger traffic, even on a month-on-month basis, has improved substantially. Back to you.
All right, Sonia, thanks a lot for getting us all of those numbers. So clearly, with the festive season, we're seeing a big pickup in the air traffic numbers. But unfortunately, the pickup in air traffic is also leading to trouble and congestion at a lot of airports, and especially at the Delhi airport, which has seen some chaotic scenes over the last few days. We have been talking about it here on the channel as well. So taking cognizance of the inconvenience caused to passengers, Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia visited the airport to take stock of the situation, and CNN News 18's Pallavi Ghosh caught up with the minister after his visit to really understand what can be done to ease the situation. Listen in.
I had taken a meeting last week to make sure that we ease off the congestion at our airports. I made a physical visit today. These are not steps that have been announced by government alone. I have taken close to a 2-hour meeting with all stakeholders in the aviation ecosystem. We've actually done a full process study in terms of where the bottlenecks are occurring. How do we ease up those bottlenecks? I've also mandated that we need to be able to put up boards across every gate that talks about the wait time at every single gate. I've also told the airport operator to make sure that we have usherers in place that can direct passengers. The greater the adoption of DigiYatra, I think it will facilitate in many ways all the crowds that we see both at the entry point as well as the security check-in. I have then mandated the airport operator to make sure that certain areas are freed up so that we can have an additional 3 ATRSs or normal systems in place. CISF has put in the requisite amount of staff as we have increased our capacity from the current 13 to today's capacity of 16.
All right, so hopefully with all of these processes put in place, the congestion that we are seeing at some of these larger airports, Delhi, Mumbai, will ease, in the coming few days. But with that, let's move on and get you excerpts of an exclusive chat that my colleague Ritu Singh had with Nandan Nilekani, the non-executive chairman of Infosys, on the entire startup space in India and also his thoughts on the central bank digital currency. Listen in.
Well, I think finally it's about solving challenges and giving benefits to people. So UPI has given that benefit of zero cost instant payments.
Yeah.
And but I think there is the anonymity benefit of CBDC. And I think over time, as people start using this, they will figure out more use cases, both on the retail side as well as on the wholesale side. For example, settlements or cross-border settlements, where you have two CBDCs and you can reduce the cost of settlement between two countries and so on. See, I think fundamentally we have to realize that the RBI is one of the most progressive and forward-looking regulators there has been. I can personally say I've been working with them for 15 years. They enabled the link of Aadhaar to bank account with eKYC, then DBT with Aadhaar payment bridge, Aadhaar-enabled payment system for withdrawing money, then UPI, and now CBDC. So I think RBI has always been very forward-looking. So I think this is one more forward-looking initiative from RBI.
Okay, so we'll see how that pans out. But because we're, in the startup capital of the country, so to speak, let me also ask you about those. We're proud as a nation to be the third largest country when it comes to number of startups. We have more than 100 unicorns, but, they've raised capital in what has been a tough environment now, and we're seeing mass layoffs, restructurings, shutdowns in worst cases. How do you think the scenario is going to play out from here?
Well, I think in some sense, this is going to cleanse the system. Because, if somebody doesn't have a very viable business model and has essentially depended upon a lot of capital to build, that's no longer valid. But I think so it will force companies to become much sharper focused, much more frugal in their approach, more focused on solving real business issues. And I think at the end of this, we'll have a very good set of robust, healthy companies. So I think this will lead to a good outcome.
All right, that was Nandan Nilekani. And remember, you can catch excerpts from this exclusive conversation all day today, right here on CNBC TV18. With that, we have to get into a short break now. But you guys stay tuned because there's lots more news and updates in just a bit. Hey guys, welcome back. You're still tuned into Business Lunch, and here are some important updates. All eyes are on BJP leader Bhupendra Patel, who will be taking oath as Gujarat's Chief Minister for the second term. The swearing-in ceremony will take place at 2 p.m. in Gandhinagar, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as well as Home Minister Amit Shah, will also be in attendance. Okay, as we wrap up on this show, I'm going to bring you some really interesting global updates. NASA's Orion capsule has successfully returned to Earth after an unmanned voyage around the moon. The mission was the first of those under the Artemis program, under which NASA aims to re-establish a human presence on the moon for the first time since the last Apollo mission in 1972. Remember, this also marks the day of the Apollo mission's final moon landing. So Orion blasted off on November 16th from the Kennedy Space Center using NASA's next generation space launch system, which is actually now the world's most powerful rocket and the biggest NASA has built since the Saturn V series. This is of the Apollo era. So that's some really exciting news coming in. NASA's Orion capsule has returned to Earth. But with that, we are going to wind down on this edition of Business Lunch with the news that the market has slipped a little bit more. It's around 0.2% in the red for the Nifty. The Nifty Bank also, which was really holding on, has moved into the red right now, absolutely at the flat line. But you can see a significant decline in the past couple of minutes. So we're going to wind down on this edition of Business Lunch. Thanks for tuning in. Mid-Cap Radar after this short break.